And hey, everybody, it's the Hangout for April 12th, 2617. Jeez. For Glazes from Alpha University. So we're pretty much coming to the end, wrapping stuff up. As always, I'm open to any questions about class content. I even forget where we are right now. Glaze flaws maybe came up this week. So any questions about class content so far? No. Okay, then I'm going to jump right to Anna. Where are you at?
Still need to do some color tests.
Okay, why are you looking to the side like you're trying to avoid the question?
No, I just didn't get around to it this week because I've been super busy making molds.
Okay,
So
as long as you're staying on schedule. The glazes, so you basically left off from where we were last week.
yeah,
You've got some okay
I have a test
formulas.
code for tonight.
Did we do another crazing test, or did we?
We got rid of the craziness with that one.
That's
we
right.
were like, oh,
we adjusted the calcium.
Yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
I'm gonna do color tests and apply it to the actual pieces to see if they craze on the pieces.
Okay. Just remember, keep your application thin. You know, you're going to have to figure out your water content and your application time, but thicker glazes are more likely to craze. You know, now we got rid of the crazing on the test tile. That does not mean absolutely with changes in thickness, especially, that they're going to definitely be permanently gone. So really play with the application thickness. Okay. Jackie, I don't think we may have looked over your last set of tests. Next, I don't have them open just yet. As you try to finish your cereal, where's it here? Christina's not here. We talked about Christina. I looked at them. Right. I think we did look at Jackie's without you here last week, but we've got this great running. Hold on, let me pull up a screen share here so everybody else can see them. So pretty simple test at this point that we did with Jackie, where we took a base glaze, a 0.3 to 0.7, 8:1 silica to alumina ratio, alumina level of 0.42. So just a generic middle of the road gloss. And she did a series of tests where she increased the boron content. So 0.01 boron, 0.02 boron, 0.03, all the way up to 1.0 boron. So systematically increasing boron while keeping everything else pretty much the same. Slight variations in ratio, but that's not a big deal. And then inside of each of those tests, she did different dip thicknesses or thickness applications. So 3-second dips, 6 seconds, 9, 12, and 15. And then basically, as I scroll through, you can see the glazes start to run as the boron increases and the thickness increases. Let me back out a little bit here. Really, really great stuff. So now we're starting to find where is the line of running and of that sort of glaze tension, because it really does come down to both application and chemistry. It's not one or the other. So I sent her off some tests yesterday where we're going to try different silica and alumina levels to see how that affects the run. Does it make more tension, less tension? And also how it affects the crazing. She's still getting crazing in this. Now, this isn't a clay body that she would necessarily use. This is just the generic 747 porcelain. But, to see how silica and alumina levels affect crazing. Now, part of that is what we saw last week with Anna's tests of, that is this amazing thing. That moving around, let me pull up Anna's revised 2. Moving around silicon alumina levels will change your crazing pattern. Okay, so these 3 tests or these 3 tests, right? That this one's a little hard, but basically crazing, not crazing. Well, all these are is increasing silica and alumina. So this is lower silica and alumina, this is in the middle, and this is higher. The silica to alumina ratio is exactly the same. So the performance of the matte is very similar, but the crazing goes away as we increase silicon alumina. And again, that's exactly what Stull would tell us is going to happen. So again, we're sort of working with these same principles for all these different types of glazes, whether it's a cone 6 matte or whether we're trying to force this running, right? That we still get this exact same behavior where you get increased melt based on application and chemistry. Okay. And so we can start to play with these sorts of things, you know, where we've talked about boron already, that we don't need boron for, say, cone 10, but that doesn't mean we can't use it, that we can't do interesting things with it. If we want glazes that run and move, that we can start to manipulate thickness and didn't mean to stop screen sharing. That we can't manipulate thickness, right, and chemistry to get glazes that run. And look, you know, when you get to these higher boron levels, the running here is really beautifully profound, where it's completely off of the shelf. You know, we're at the lower levels. Yeah, it's running, but it's not running that much. And I was talking or emailing with Jackie last week that there is a somewhat well-known artist right now who is known for making pots with sort of running glazes that appear to be running in the same similar way. And I did discover that they are doing it through application, pretty much all application, that they're basically drawing in these drips with glaze or painting them in. And so again, it's really technique, thickness, and application, not so much just the chemistry, but you know, that we can work with all of these types of things together. So she's got a new round of tests that I just sent out yesterday or the day before, where we're going to mess around with silicon alumina levels. Again, the same sort of concepts of you come down here, theoretically, you get more running because of more silicon alumina. You come up here, you get less, but we're going to see how that affects the same running principles, because at the end of the day, you know, I've often said a running glaze is an overfired glaze. Well, yes and no. There are lots of different ways to play with that concept. Now, when I say that, what I mean is a glaze that just runs on a quote unquote normal application, right, is going to be down here with lower amounts of silicon alumina. And to a certain degree, we can't even see that on this glaze with a fair amount of boron. At cone 10, it's not even running that much. But if we pushed it even farther, you know, instead of just 0.1, we could go 0.2, 0.3 at cone 10, and eventually the glaze would start to run. And we can actually look at that in a second when we look at Megan's tests, because Megan just posted a beautiful set of tests that you seem skeptical of. Oh, look at that tail. It's like an alien is coming to attack you.
I'm excited.
You're excited? Good, because these are awesome. Okay, so Megan's tests are the big test for the week, where you know she's got these same base glazes. This the one that's pure mag carb, a mix of mag carb and zinc, and then we did bring back the pure zinc one, and that formula is just a stinker to begin with. So more testing could be done with that, but we'd have to sort of start from scratch and pick a different zinc formula. But what we did is we just took these formulas and started adding in boron, okay? Because originally she was working at cone 10 and at cone 6, and these were just fired at 6, right? I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Right. So actually, if I go back and open up some of your earlier tests, let's see. We'll go back to ass load of tests. So the catch with a lot of these was when they were fired to cone 6, this one's a better image, right? They were just dry. Okay, so we can contrast cone 10, you know, exact same formula on these two tiles, right? But at cone 6, they're just under fired. At cone 10, they're well fired, right? And we can tell they're under fired because the bloops haven't blooped yet. They're islands. They're starting to melt, but they haven't fully melted. So that's the difference that 4 cones gets you. So then the question, you know, to ask is, well, what does it take to get these glazes to melt at cone 6? Of course, my answer, as it is with all things, is boron, right? So we did a series of tests last week where we just took those same formulas at cone 6, and we added in incremental amounts of boron, as we've done with Jackie, to really see what happens. So this is the formula that is NEFSI, MagCarb, and EPK with no boron fired to cone 6, and it's dry and under fired, as you would expect. As soon as you bring in 0.05 boron, right, then all of a sudden it's melting. That little touch of boron in the form of, we're using this new frit F367 at 3.73%, which is bringing in 0.05 boron. Everything else is basically the same, just a little bit more boron, and now all of a sudden it's melting. This one looks a little undermelted. The edges look a little bit hard, but you can see the sheen. You can see that it's pulled from rough islands into soft islands. And then we just keep increasing boron. So this is 0.1. So again, doubling that boron, really nice melting, and then we just carry on. But this is where I think things get really awesome, that the bloops start to run together, right? So now we're taking it where we've melted it, and then we're over melting it. So now we've got not just bloops and islands, but now they're starting to run and pool together, because basically we're overfluxing it with the amount of boron we've got. And then here, they're really starting to come together, really making a whole new texture, really, really messing with these. And I think that this is a lot of fun. And then until the point where we get up to 0.25 boron, which at cone 6 is way more than we need. Remember, if we go back to the way we calculate boron needs, we only need 0.15 to get an effective melt. Well, here we are overdoing it, and like the whole system is remelted. And this is actually proving a very important question that has always existed about the crawling glazes, which is, if you overflux them, will they flow back together? Because as I talk about in the glaze flaws lecture, I believe if it's not glaze flaws, it's special effects. I'm pretty sure it's glaze flaws, where these islands exist because the raw materials shrink on the application and in the early 4 stages of firing, right? That literally the glaze shrinks and cracks on application, and then it shrinks even more in the early stages of the firing. So then the question is, if you then you get into this relationship between viscosity and surface tension, right? And I talk about how viscosity always wins when the viscosity is high, which it is with the traditional islands. But what we've done now is that we've dropped the viscosity massively by adding in excessive amounts of boron. So now the glaze formed islands, but then they melt back together, which actually we've never done before. So this is, again, taking this and pushing it to a whole new step of creating this whole new thing of, how we play with this and what this does. Okay. Really, really beautiful test, right? We can come then now into the next set, which is half mag carb and half zinc. This one's really weird. I wanted to ask you about this. Is this all melted and this is the texture of the tile?
Yeah, for the most part.
It looks like it, it all melted into the tile.
Mhm.
That's crazy weird. Although I think I know why, but that's interesting. That's very interesting. Again, now we come into the same thing of adding in boron at 0.05, right? And just watching it start to melt. And this one's not breaking the viscosity as much, but that it's starting to run. Like you can literally see it like pulling together, making much fatter bloops and running off of the tile. So, now again, we've got this viscosity surface tension relationship really sort of fighting it. So instead of the whole glaze, melting and homogenizing into one, right, as these are doing, now instead the individual bloops are just running. So then this becomes a very important distinction between the zinc base and the MgO base, right, that we now see this. So this is why I would want to go back and instead of using this tile 10, which just isn't going to melt, to retry a pure zinc base and to redo this experiment. Just pick a new zinc base with lower silicon alumina. This alumina level is just much too high in getting it to melt, because as we go through the pure zinc, like 0.05, 0.1, It does melt, right? It is melting. It's a very interesting textural effect, but it's not melting the way we'd want it to. The glaze itself is just too refractory. So maybe trying a new zinc base with lower amounts of clay and redoing this experiment might be interesting. But all in all, just beautiful results. I mean, like islands that are running, like I love that. Like how far, can we push that in, the studio to get sort of a running sort of rain on glass appearance, Very, very cool. What are your thoughts, Megan?
Yeah, I think number 9 was probably my favorite with the runs in it. What's up with the color for number 2?
It's a great question that I don't have a particularly good answer for.
Okay.
It's probably iron contamination in the mag carb. Let me double check my numbers here. I don't think I have anything listed as iron numbers in mag carb, but that doesn't mean it's not in there. They might just not report it.
Okay.
Because when we look at the variables, where's mag carb? Pearl ash zinc. Amtalc dolomite. Well, that's nice. Lithium carb soda ash. Borax mag carb. Here we go. Yeah, see, they don't list anything here. They literally just says it's magnesium. This is my iron line, and it's empty. Most likely, it's just that naturally occurring iron.
Okay.
It's turning a yellow brown, which is what you'd expect from iron. I mean, it's probably just a fraction of a percent, but it's enough to make the color go off. And you notice with the zinc ones that they stay pretty white, and this is half mag carb, but zinc really acts as a bleaching agent. We've talked about how zinc and color really don't work because zinc is really good at sort of naturally opacifying itself. And again, I'd sort of like to redo these, but that the zinc, it stays pretty white. And so, the only thing is why does this show up later? Well, these look sort of yellow as is, and I don't remember if the previous tests were quite this yellow. Oops. But I think in between the melt, it could be that. Now, it could also be this frit. It's this new frit we haven't really worked with before, but frits are generally pretty pure. They usually don't let iron get into frits because when they make a frit, remember, they don't have to use feldspar. They can just mix soda ash and silica and alumina. Well, not necessarily alumina, but they can use the pure forms of those materials and melt them together because they're just melting the glass. They don't need to worry about suspending it in water. It just goes right into the furnace to melt. So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer, but yeah. So, I mean, it's just a question of whether you want to try to knock out one more round of tests. I'm not going to put any pressure on you. You've done a ton of tests this semester. Probably at this point, if we were, I would redo number 10. And I'd also like to try these with dispersant. I'd like to see how dispersant, because we've looked at how dispersing these glazes changes their melt pattern. I might like to see how that affects these overfluxed ones.
Okay.
But that's just if you want to do another round. Otherwise, I'd say start documenting a few of these, like on the ass load of tests. Some of the images weren't necessarily the best.
Yeah.
So redocument, get high quality images, and put together a written piece, a couple of pages as to what we did, what your results were, all that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for me?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. I mean, that's what we've got for what we've got here. Kiyoshi, you getting back up and running? He's typing. Oh, you did? Hold on. How are they? Well, we'll see. Let's see. So we were doing something weird with Kiyoshi. And Beth, you getting the vanadium going? Because I'm up in 2 more weeks, you guys. So I want to see everything.
Yeah, I have a kiln for Friday.
Okay, good.
Is there a final documentation project report to turn in?
Yes, I'd like a short write-up, 4 or 5 pages on what we did and how we did it.
Okay.
So let's see. So
What is that?
you just did increments, Kiyoshi? Base.
Well, I did those, and then I did like,
You did the ones that we came up with?
yeah.
Wow. Everything ran?
Everything ran.
What temperature did we go to? 10?
Yeah. I still have the glazes though.
Not no real dichroic effect though.
No.
Huh. So basically, last time I was up there, Kiyoshi and I were discussing what is the role of bismuth, and it's a material I don't even think I talk about in class. Periodic table right now. Reference. Periodic table. Right. So, oops. We'll just leave both of these. So bismuth is down here, and it doesn't even have a ceramic classification, right? It doesn't have any of these symbols, but it's one of these materials that people will commonly use, but we have no idea how it works. We even went and talked with John Gill because the last time I even used bismuth was when I took this class as an undergrad, and John was my teacher, and we were discussing of what he was doing with bismuth, and I think his response is somewhere like, I don't know, try it, see what happens. And so we had this bismuth, and so we came up with a series of tests to look at what it does. Now, it falls around the glass formers, but it's also right next to lead. It's also known for doing the dichroic effect, which is where the effect of oil and water, where you sort of see a rainbow on the surface. And for Beth and Kiyoshi, we talk about the dichroic effect because what happens is it's light passing through a glass twice. Or not, well, so light hits your surface and it bounces off the surface of your glaze, right? But some light can travel into the glaze and then bounce off the interior of the glaze. And that means, so you're getting waves of light that are hitting at 2 different depths of penetration. And that creates this rainbow effect on glass or oil on water, any of those types of things. Well, bismuth is sort of commonly known to do that. So we're just sort of looking at what bismuth does. So, we've got 2 tests here. What was the base glaze you're using for this? Oh, here it is. Sorry.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so it's just 4, 3, 2, 1, and then increasing amounts of bismuth. And I mean, it looks like it makes it run, and then eventually it starts to turn it yellow. And then 10 doesn't look that yellow. Is that just looking at it, or is it not that yellow? But then this goes matte.
It's not that yellow.
Are 7, 8, and 9 all matte, or is it just 8 and 9? Because 6 looks glossy, but I can't tell with 7, 8, and 9.
7 is glossy, but it's kind of matte at the top.
Matte where it's thin. 8 and 9 go matte.
10 is glossy.
10 looks like it's anomaly. Are you sure about the numbers on 10?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't have my glaze book, but I'm like very sure that like 8, 9 is like matte, and then it's like glossy at the bottom, and then 8 is kind of matte, and then it's glossy. It looks glossy.
So that's an important indicator, but we'll talk about that in a second. So what we then also did is basically we took a basic formula and we substituted in bismuth for the different ingredients. So here we tried it for the NEFSI, right? And different concentrations of it as NEFSI. Here we did it instead of flint, right? Here we did it as the half amount for the flint. So half flint, half bismuth. Here's a quarter silica. Oh, these are fascinating. Okay, I'm going to have to stop and think about the logic of this because we are seeing trends and this is awesome. Okay, the fact that we're getting matte textures out of these means we are changing the chemistry. I just have to go back and rethink what changes are happening, and I have to make some models and think about it.
Okay, before you go go really in, let me make sure that
Okay.
everything's right with my glaze book.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure I just did that's how it says B6 to 10. I'm pretty sure I just did that in the order of the Excel sheet, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Double check your numbers. Well, this in and of its own, the fact that 7, 8, and 9 are going matte, that means a lot. But basically, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go and run tests where I go and just take a 4, 3, 2, 1. I mean, I could do it right now. I don't need to bore all of you with watching me do it, but calculator 17. Okay, so basically the question then becomes, right? So if we take a glaze that's 4, 3, 2, 1. Nefsi whiting. So 40, 20, 10, and 30, right? So if we take a 4, 3, 2, 1, and we start adding in a material in 1% increments, like this first round of tests, what's it going to take to move that glaze into a matte region? Now, the first answer that would come to my mind is clay. Okay. Clay would very easily do that because let's just make a second. We'll just call this one Graulig just to tell the difference between the two of those. Okay. So if we go 1% clay, right, it's going to be hard to see the diamond because it's going to be small movements, but it's going to move this way. I should say it's going to more or less move sort of semi-vertical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's interesting, but it's not really moving in that direction that quickly, as fast as this one does. Flint, on the other hand, is going to go in the opposite direction, though, right? So we start with original, and you add in more flint. You go 1, 2, 3. So that's not doing it. 4, 5. Okay, so it doesn't really seem to be clay or flint, which means that the odds are closer that it's going to behave like an RO. So we come back and do whiting. And now what happens if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's really not doing it. So now we can't call it a feldspar because it's not going to be a feldspar, but we could try something like soda ash or lithium carb. Go back to soda ash because it's regular. So 1, it's not doing it either. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's getting closer. You see, it's actually moving more diagonally towards the matte region. It's not moving as radically, but this is not accounting for the concentration of bismuth as a material, right? Of how many molecules of bismuth this percentage brings in. But 7, 8, I'm calling it an R2O at this point. 9, 10. It's not moving quickly, but it's moving more. So this is an 8-to-1 ratio at this point, but where we started, it really didn't affect that. Back with the what if we try something bigger? Since it's a big molecule, let's try Let's try barium. Barium's a big old molecule, right? Let's try barium carbonate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is so weird. So this is why it'll take some time, because so that So that's with it as whiting, and that's glossy. But that is it as silica. And that's starting to go matte. And then that's matte. A quarter is glossy, half is matte. You know what? I have to get the other calculator I wrote for you off of my other computer, which I can't do right now. So anyway, so there's a secret in here, right? We're getting trends. I just have to figure out exactly what the trends are. But the fact that we got a transition from gloss to matte is a huge deal, right? It means that this transition is in here somewhere. We just have to figure out what is the chemistry that put this here, because we have to figure out how bismuth is working into the system. So double check your notebooks, verify all the results, and let me play around with it a little bit more.
Okay.
Because this is the answer is in here. The fact that if there was no transition at all, we'd be like, oh, this sucks. But the fact that we can get a transition means that something is going on. Cool. Okay. Things to think about. All right. Any other questions for me at this point?
This is not on topic, but did your wife used to work for the tile company in Hornell, right? Jason told me I could go there and maybe get seconds from them.
You can try. When she was running, she would have done it. I don't know the current person who's running it, but you can ask Emily. Emily Clough. Oh, go ahead.
Jason kind of just told me to like walk in there and like ask them for seconds.
It's a little bit better to call and ask.
Okay.
If you call the front desk, the woman who answers name, at least last I knew, is a woman named Linda Kohler. Okay. You could ask Linda, tell her you're a friend of Matt and Rose's and a student of Matt's, and ask if she can hook you up with Tess or if you could talk with Emily.
Okay.
And Emily should be the easier answer. It's better to set everything up versus to go in and for them to tell you to buzz off, because walking in the middle of a production day and asking for something, you're just going to piss people off.
Okay. Yeah, I tried calling them, but I couldn't like get to like what I needed to get to, I think.
I don't have Linda's phone number.
This is really off topic.
No, it's fine. I don't have her phone number. Yeah, just try to call them, try to get to the front desk, or if there's a phone tree, go to customer service. She runs customer service too.
Oh, okay.
Or Emily's like on Facebook and stuff. She's an alum. She's still there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, one of my former students is currently running their glazes. So
okay.
So that's Emily Clough. So she should be helpful. Hold on, let me email Emily. Hold on.
Yeah, well, Jason said a couple of years ago he had a student go there and he got like a ton of seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, it's better to
Yeah, I know.
not
talk to
cold
him.
walk in the door. Here it is. Okay. I will send her an email. I will let her know what she says.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from you guys? Okay. Beth, get your test done. Anna, let me know how your colors end up. Jackie, run the next round. Kiyoshi, give me a second. Megan, you decide if you're exhausted or whether you want to do one more thing and let me know. Because Megan has done an assload of tests this semester.
Yes, she has.
Great results all around. Loving what's coming out, you guys. So yeah, we'll meet next week and then I'll be up the week after. So get stuff done. This is the week. If you need kilns, coordinate with Anna real quick before she loses her mind. She's going to start screaming at people just cause. Yeah. See, there you go. she's losing it. It's okay. I won't say how far away shows are, but I'm going to be at shows. I'm going to bring my family back up for shows. So can't wait to see them. Cool beans. Okay. Talk to you guys later. All righty. Bye.